Hello, everybody. Thank you so kindly for joining me on this Sunday afternoon. I'm looking forward to getting started with today. Just have to give me a moment to pull up our new songs for tonight. You know what? Let's switch on over. This is the wrong thing. I prepared a different one. Ah! Here we are. That's a way louder than I thought it'd be. Good thing you can't hear that. Hold on, let me just go back here for a second. Jesus Christ. Good thing you didn't hear that, otherwise I would blow your eardrums. Mine, however, are perfectly fine. Let's restart the song. This is Old Time Memory by Mischief Brew. Quite a fantastic song. Now, those who are watching, I bet you're curious what exactly we're doing over here. Well, it's quite simple. I have a video essay I've been wanting to write. So, I'm gonna write it on stream. And you guys can say whatever you want. And we're gonna try doing some other things. Maybe we'll do some karaoke. The song's so good. Maybe we'll do some karaoke. Maybe we'll do some reaction content, depending on what we do. It all depends on what we do. Got myself some tea that my roommate made. Got some interesting tones to it. Yeah, this is good vibes, good vibes. Alright. Let's get started with the intro, where all good things start. And where all bad things start too. One day while walking back to
the brass passed off as gold, another round. We're descending into old time memory of a day when wood was wooden, silver
I think it was... When was this exactly? It's a story about me talking to a friend of mine.
So you say you got a wood stove in your second home, runs on gas but looks like oak.
All I remember specifically is that I saw her, said, "Hey," and she was like, "Huh? What the hell? Who are you?" I was like, "Hey, it's me." And she was like, "Oh shit, that's you?" I was like, "Yeah, that's me." Shit's crazy, man. Come sit down, we're lamenting. Yesterday sudden, got the water in the whiskey. The brass passed off as gold another round. We're descending to old time memory. Alright, getting distracted. Let's make this a little quieter. It's kind of overwhelming my ears. My ears are opening up. It's probably thanks to the tea. This is going to be a preliminary intro. I'm probably going to want to change how it's structured later, but let's just get something written down so that we can expand upon it later. Facts, endangered species left its tracks, so lock me up behind plastic glass in the city. There's no going back for me, this antique's rustic eulogy shall be sold as folk artistry, such a pity. Sorry, I just had to make it to loops.
Luxury boxes where you're stored in what was country. Come sit down, we're lamenting about yesterday, sad ending, about the water in me whiskey. The brass passed off as gold, another round. We're descending into old time memory of a day when wood was wooden, silver, gold was gold, another round. sweet home was home.
Ooh, this is a good song. This is Born of a Star by Izar. Izar is a very good artist. I've very much been loving their work. There's another artist in a similar vein that I really like, but I need to find them. I think it was, well, they made Chrono Apocalypse, that's what I remember. I think it's a song in, what's that one gacha? Honkai Star Rail? I don't remember. It was one of them gachas, and I don't play gachas. Only one I've ever really played was Limbus Company. And I stopped playing that. And the only reason I started playing it was because, you know, it was made by Project Moon. And I'm a huge Project Moon fan. But I just could not get into it. I tried, I really did. I got to about halfway through Kanto 4. And I said, you know what? I'm not really liking it. I'll probably look up the story later and just watch it through, say, I don't know, Suno. But it'd be so much better if I saw it myself, not to be filtered through someone else's experiences. That's life. That's life. No, I think this is when I was in college. Ah, I don't remember. You know what? It doesn't really matter too much, frankly. Afterwards, I reflected on the... I don't want to say beauty, I use that word way too much. The... how do I describe it? It's like the... interesting aspect of how I ended up meeting her again. There's shit... I feel like there's a word to describe this, but I can't remember what it is. Reflected on the chance meeting. Let's just go this way instead. Let's go this way. I mean, two people in the same city meeting up again with no contact for years is pretty unlikely. Our lives just so happen to cross paths once again.
We love it. That the universe is kind.
It's such a good song.
Through the noise of its thoughts, it hears the universe. But there are times it is sad. In a long drink, it creates worlds.
Hope this
and it shifts
VOD doesn't get hyper muted. That'd really suck.
its sad creation for reality. Too strong for this dream. To cure its of sorrow, destroy it. The soul
There's
is part of
something...
its own task.
I need a synonym for beautiful. Synonym for beautiful. Okay, not this kind. Not okay. What the fuck is this word? Oh, creditudinous? Okay, well. Yeah, we're just gonna ignore that. Let's just go with there's something beautiful about the unlikeliness. Occurring. Nah, that's terrible. That's terrible. Now this is a banger. Oh, this song kills me, and I love it. Swear I'll run away from every home I ever had. So I'll build a new house in every town I pass. Maybe then I won't always feel lost and trapped. Alright, back to what we were doing. So, back on transmitting. Something beautiful about how the... How do I put it? I can't... Sorry, I was looking at my phone. I was getting a text. Alright, so... Like on the transmitting, we two people in the same subject. Something beautiful about that. By pure chance, we just so happened to both be in the same place. We went back to not but maybe that'll make the next meeting all the better. After all, we all have our own lives to live. So, how do we pivot this into the thesis? Let's not do the obvious. Let's not go like, you've seen the title of the video, you know where this is going. That's tacky as shit. I actually really hate when people do that. It's genuinely the tackiest fucking thing I've heard. But let's try. What should we try, guys? What should we try? Building a new world. I love my friends and me. It's not an exact science yet, but we have the technology. Oh yeah. Alright, so our thesis is... Alright, how do we... Alright, let's just maybe do a sudden pivot. I've noticed many people in the Elden Ring community have an aversion, as our friends they are enough. Neighbors are enough. finally wear enough. Doc! Jesus Christ! Hello, Mr. Mint223. Thank you so much for the pipe falling. I was not expecting that. Jesus Christ. I was very much lost with that. Hello, Mr. Mint223. What brings you around here? It's good to see you. It's not gonna be a very exciting stream. We're just gonna be chatting, writing, etc. But feel free to suggest anything in chat, even reacting to something. I'd certainly be down for that. But thank you so kindly for showing up. Hope you have a great time in this stream. Well, that's not what I wanted to open. From style. Quest design. While they I've noticed many of the Elden Ring community have an aversion to From Software's style of quest design. While they are less... how do I put it? While they are less direct than most quests made for games today, I think. Nah, never say I think in an essay, everyone. This is a quick tip that I got from my writing professor. Not professor, it's actually a high school teacher. In an essay, it's always about what you think. In an essay, never say I think. That's presumably. It's like saying I think, and you've lost me, buddy. You've said the same thing way too many times. Alright, let's see what the next song is. Ah, Nightcore, Rise, from League of Legends. What an interesting one to come to. And we need some BGM. Now, Nightcore is an interesting pick, because that shit's... You can do whatever you want with Nightcore. Ah, I love getting past copyright law. Well, let's check the most quest name for games today. They still have merit. There has to be a better way to say that. Still have merit, especially in comparison to most other quests. As it gives a unique agency to the characters. Most games don't afford? That has to be another word for afford. Let me think of a word. So afford, the word is in giving, basically. Afford synonym. Other game, the grant, that's a good word for it. Most of the games don't grant. While they are less direct than most quests made for games today, they still have merit, especially in comparison to most other games, as it gives unique agency to the characters most games don't grant. And further reinforces a general theme from general ludonarrative theme from software has continuously tried to Balls. How do I put it? General lunar theme from software is continuously try to push. Push for. Push for. We need a synonym for push for. More similar and opposite words. Exert force, press, move forward, propeller urge. Has continued to try to pressure. Saves to try to ballyhoo? Try to promote. Let's say promote. I kind of like that word. This is Senbun Zekiro Night 4, the Claws remix. I actually kind of like Cyrex as a Nightcore artist. I'm calling a Nightcore. I don't want to be rude, but a lot of songs in Nightcore, they tend to just speed it up. But this guy actually tends to remix that a little bit. Which, you know, can be appreciated pretty well. I mean, Nightcore definitely has its place. You know, to remove DMCA. Oh, I could go on such a long rant about copyright law and how much it's designed to mess with us. God, I'm always so tempted to mess with my Tangia. This, for example, is the entire stream so far. This is all that we're doing. We're thinking hard. Or hardly thinking. Such is the world we live in, my friends. Alright. A general mood narrative theme that FromSoft has continuously tried to promote. You know what? I think that's good enough right there. Chris the Best GK, hello! How's it coming? How's it going, my friend? This isn't a chess stream, it's a mere writing stream, but you're welcome to, say... Ah, good to hear, good to hear. This is no, chess stream or Fallout or... I believe you joined us during a chess stream. But, I decided to start, writing for a Elden Ring video I've been meaning to do. A little video essay. So let's continue on. I believe this is, yeah, heading to. Alright. What is this game? The game we are writing for is Elden Ring. But, you know, I'm writing. Section 1. A-protagonistic narrative. Weird way of putting it, but it makes sense to me. That's what matters. I mean, if you're asking about what I'm using, it's Google Docs. Alright. So let's think about what From Software has tried to do. How many words should I go for? Hold on, how many words is this? I'll just do a quick word check. Word count. 270 is not that bad. That's about 2 minutes if I'm slower. If I'm faster, it's about a minute. Minute 30. If I talk fast, I can hit about 200 words per minute. But, you know, I shouldn't do that. Because that makes it hard to understand, and also it looks like we're trying to get the Zoomer crowd in there. Going back to... This song is Lebon Polka Nightcore. Also by Cyrex. Well, it's VSNS remix, but the Nightcore is upload And this version is uploaded by Cyrex. Okay. Going back even to Dark Souls from Soft. Yeah, let's just reveal what we're doing immediately in this paragraph. I think that'll be easier. From Software has always tried to... How do we put it? From Software has always tried to... I'm gonna have to rewrite this because I'm not gonna like how it sounds. Make the player character seem less important than... Let's highlight this because I don't... If I highlight it in yellow, that means I want to change it later. Because make is a very... It's just a very basic word, and it feels way too bland. I mean a lot more in this sentence, and it's hard to make doesn't really give the correct connotation, in my opinion. From the start of Dark Souls, you are shown a grand narrative of gigantic dragons and larger than life larger than life actors trying to fighting a war. Fighting a war of what? Fighting a war of... Oh, I mean, extinction, but that's not... We shouldn't use that word. That's kind of a... That's a lot of connotations to it. Oh, this really nice tea my roommate. Oh, it's starting to go sour. Okay. Yeah, let's take this out. It's definitely done steeping. That's not how they go anymore sour. Oh, Jesus Christ. I can ask him later what the tea is. I think it's a darker tea. It's definitely black tea, but I don't know exactly what kind. But it's pretty darn good. It's pretty darn good. Just, you know, before it turns sour. He told me it turned sour after a little while. I didn't really believe him, and then I should have. Larger than life characters fighting a... We need a synonym for grand. Grand synonym. Monumental war. And eventually succeeding. This cutscene. This song is Please Revere Me, My Purpose Eludes Me by Levio Carusa. I quite like this song, but some may not, considering it's kind of breakcore adjacent. I actually kind of like breakcore, but only some of them. A lot of breakcore is kind of shit, but some of it's pretty darn good, especially the ones by Isaac. We got other kinds of songs in this list too. This cutscene ends with the player character being shown. Okay, we'll bring it up later how Elden Ring explicitly says there's a bunch of important guys and there's also you. Yeah, ding dong. Into the good old Hoaraloo, chieftain of the Badlands. Actually, should we go watch that right now? Oh, yeah. Dark Souls. Hold on, let me just pull up the video, that'd be easier. Dark Souls intro. Opening cinematic. Yep.
In the age of ancient,
Alright, ma'am, could you please calm down? Alright.
In the age of ancients,
Alright, we're not just gonna, like, show the actual thing.
and only dark will remain. Even now, there are carriers.
You are explicitly shown as someone who is not all there, not all that. You're not someone who's really well liked. You carrier of the accursed dark sign. This cutscene ends with the player character being shown as an accursed. Let's go back. Let's go back. The dragons were no more. Thus began the Age of Fire. Soon the flames will fade, only dark will remain. Even now there are only embers, and man sees not light, but only endless nights. And amongst the living are seen carriers of the accursed dark sign. Undesirable. Carriers of the accursed dark sign. So, what does this mean? Well, and that's only what's shown in the intro cinematic. Beyond the introductory cinematic. Oh my god, that's really sour. Yeah. Yeah. The player is not an active the player character is not active in the story. Instead, showing up at the end of everything. You merely are there. Sorry, hold on. You merely are the end of them. What can we say? Okay, you merely are the end. And aren't given much agency in determining their direction. There's exceptions, of course. Many quest lines have you involve the player making decisions. Let's see. So, for example, Dusk of Ulasil in Dark Souls 1. This is a banger. This is Keep Trying Please by Izar. I have a lot of Izar on this playlist. I really like their songs. I don't listen to a lot of them, but the ones I have listened to are top tier. Okay, many quest lines involve the player making decisions. I'm not sure which any of these are even copyrighted, so we'll find out after the stream. And then I'll just remove those from the playlist. It's that simple. I'm a genius, guys. If you do copyright correct, you can just ignore it. Only some quest lines involve the player making decisions to what's the synonym of determine? Determine synonym. To direct the decisions to influence the direction of each character's story. Solaire, for example, will die if you don't make the right choices. Choices being made. Or will go insane. Let's just say will die. That's no. Let's be completely accurate. Will become hostile without certain choices being made. In some way, you are playing an active role in his story, but only momentarily. But only momentarily. Only at the few times. I think we should expand this a little bit more, but we will go into the why I'm a little wrong about that in section 3, but we should still go a little bit into how I don't like this name, but I don't know. We can roll with it. Only at the few times you cross paths with Solaire can you influence his direction. And it's strongly implied. No, let's say, whoop, nearly knocked over my mug. It's empty, but, you know, it belongs to my roommate, and I don't want it to shatter. With strong implications, Solaire is doing much beyond what the player sees him doing. And that goes for every NPC. This fact applies to every NPC. This is A Party to My Death by Izar. This fact applies to every NPC. Even some that... This fact applies to every NPC in some way or another. Another exception is Siegward. Is it Sieg? I think it's Siegmeyer. I should look it up. Siegmeyer of Katarina. Yes, it is Siegmeyer. Another exception is Siegmeyer, who... This font is a little hard to read. Can anyone read the... Can everyone in the audience read the text alright? I just want to make sure. Another exception is Siegmeyer, who at multiple points needs the player's help. And if certain conditions aren't met, he will, his quest line, and therefore his story, will end early. Therefore, my bad. Both of these characters characters have the player as a vital part of their story, of their life. However, these are exceptions. However, these do not detract from the general trend. For one, they also are at the end of everything along with the player. There isn't much to be done anymore. That's half the point of Dark Souls. Everything's already shit to fuck. For one, they're also at the end of everything. There isn't much to be done anymore in terms of changing the world beyond linking or not linking with fire, which is a task few can achieve. In reality, the player and the NPCs all only have enough power to influence their own lives. In reality, the player and the NPCs all have enough power to influence their own lives, but not much beyond that. That's part of the weakness of Dark Souls, in that you aren't really able to influence anything. You kind of have to make the... We can't keep doing this all this little... Oh, the Age of Fire, Age of Dark... We can't keep doing that. We can't keep doing that. The player is afforded extra weight in deciding the fate of the world and the inhabitants. But another strong theme of Dark Souls is a lack of agency over the world. Part of the tragedy of him is his structural... How do I say structural... requirements? Structural... Okay, what I'm trying to get at is the tragedy is that he is basically forced to go through this whole linking the fire process. He has to do the Age of, he has to do the Age of Fire, or the Age of Dark. He has no other options. That's who he is. That's how I always set everything up. Is his inability to change the world at the end of the Age of Fire. Inability to, sorry, I forgot the infinite there. Part of the tragedy of Gwyn is his inability to change the world at the end of the Age of Fire. The player is not much different in Dark in Dark Souls 1, we can only decide between an Age of Fire for a little while longer, or an Age of Dark, which is completely unknown. We don't have the... This is Face the Void by Patrick Schneeweiss. Well, it's Face the Void by Wingnut Dishwashers Union, but really that's a project by Pat the Bunny. Or Patrick Schneeweiss is the name. Interesting guy. We don't have the agency to... Hold on, wait, why is this song playing? Hold on 1 second. This isn't the song I'm wanting on here. This is not the song I want on here. Get this out of here. Remove from playlist. Alright. This is a good song. This is Credit Song for My Death, But I'm the Final Boss by Astron. Alright, bringing it back up. Alright, back to what we're doing. We don't have the agency to truly change the world for the better. No one does. Agency to... I keep forgetting the goddamn infinitive. Our only role in the story is to end the lives of many of the bosses within. And one small choice at the end of Gwyn's life, at the kiln of the first flame, oh, this song's such a banger. Our role in the story is to end the lives of many of the bosses within, and one small choice at the kiln of the first flame. All this combined is to show, is to reinforce the player's lack of agency. I need to find another way to say that Dark Souls does not really... Maybe we should pivot over to Elden Ring. In Elden Ring, these themes are still very present. One moment, I need to touch something. Alrighty. In Elden Ring, these themes are still very present. Without... Oh, it's getting hot in my room. This is so... Out there. I was just picking some. Don't worry about it. In Elden Ring, these themes are still very present. Without any... How shall we say... Oh, I'm drawing a blank on what to say here. In Elden Ring, these themes are still very present. The player character in comparison to Dark Souls does have far more agency to decide the fates of the world and to influence the lives of NPCs. But, as many have pointed out, this is Keep Trying, Please by Izar. I don't know why this is the only Izar song it wants to play, but whatever, it's a banger, we can go. We can roll with it. But, as many have pointed out, the player character in Elden Ring, as many have pointed out, we are only present after the real story has occurred. What I mean by this is that there's this grand story of wars and catastrophes and little things and big things and murder and war and love and loss and all that jazz, but we aren't really there for any of that. We gotta figure that out through item descriptions. Let me move over a tad so it's easier to read that. Yeah, already. But as many have pointed out, we are only present after the real story has occurred. So, the game starts out during character creation, giving us a overview of the current apocalypse, of the semi-apocalypse, the shattering of the Elden Ring. I think it's before character creation, actually. Starts us out before character creation. Give us an overview of the semi-apocalypse, the shattering of the Elden Ring. It's kind of an apocalypse thing. It's kind of like if, I don't know, how would I describe? It's like if the economy suddenly didn't exist. Like the concept of the economy would just kind of plucked out of the universe. It'd be like, huh, what the fuck do we do now? Guys, help, please! Yeah. Then gives us the names of plenty of other tarnished of great renown. Then gives us the names of plenty of other tarnished of great renown. This is a little dry so far, but I can spice it up in editing later. That was Keep Trying Please by Izar. Very, very lovely song. What's up next, I wonder? Well, we'll find it. Ah. It's Bonjour Madame, Night's Good. A very French song. I don't speak any French, so I have no idea what they're saying. But I also listen to a lot of Japanese songs, so that's something new to me. I also do some German songs, too. Such is life. Alright. Then it gives us the names of plenty of other tarnished of great renown who accomplish many great feats. And immediately juxtapose it with immediately juxtaposes those characters with our own. A tarnished of no renown. Part of this is a sort of dramatic irony. This no name individual will eventually change the entire world. However, they will also importantly, how do I put it? However, importantly, we aren't. Importantly, the story only ends with us, and everything else was already done. At the end, we become the consort of America, yeah? We sort of have the groundwork laid for us, and we merely used it. You see? You see? See where I'm going with this? The story only ends with us. Everything else was already done. A protagonistic narrative. To Eddie, and I'm going crazy. To Eddie, Salushity, I want you to save me. To Eddie, going crazy. I'm continuously trying to say, this is it. We are not important in the story. We are not. Because, alright, Shrali have mentioned, this is a defense of From Software's approach to quest design. So far, in this section, I'm just trying to say, here it is, the hand you reach out is empty, as is mine. By Ramshackle Glory. Oh, I love this song, this one hits me right in the soul. Some NPCs directly need our help. Can't think of any right now besides Dung Eater, but that doesn't seem like very good. Others. Each NPC. We can't just like start pivoting into the NPC suddenly. We need to first draw into it. Okay. The lack of focus on the player as the protagonist extends to lack focus on the player as the protagonist extends to peace and run from that hell. Head up the mountain and never come back. Show me utopia, I'll call it a jail. We'll pick up the pieces to snap them in half. Egalitarians with empty hands. Okay, the lack of focus on the player's protagonist extends to the current story. Each NPC has their own lives to live. They must. Fuck! I love that one. I love that bit. It's less of a, fuck. It's more of a, fuck, I hate you, Dad. And more of a, fuck, I'm so we're screwed, but we're cooked. I like that. I like that with the song. The lack of focus on the player's protagonist extends to the current story. Each NPC has their own lives to live. They always cross paths often with the player character, but not always. Many are on their own path. This is Born to... Okay, why the fuck is it Born to be a Star again? Can we listen to Born of a Star, please? Alright, hold on. Born of a Star. This is a banger. This is a fucking banger, let me tell you there, bud. I love Born of a Star. They cross paths often with the player character, but not always. Many are on their own path. All are on their own path, actually. There's none that are directly following yours. All are on their own path. Completely separate. Mostly separate from what the player is doing. This will sort of be the capstone of this entire section, saying the NPCs, of course, aren't exactly gonna be on logical place and tell you where they're going, because that's not how people work in real life. All are on their own path, mostly separate from the player's doing. So, no, not so. Let me think. They cross paths often with player character, but always. All are on their own path, mostly separate from what the player is doing. We shouldn't pull out the thesis of like, and this is why it's good that you can't find out where they are. That's a little tacky to do here. We do that in... Yes, let's do that in section 4. I think section 4 would be a good place to do that. Section 4 is sort of the pseudo final paragraph. I don't remember how the fuck it works. Yeah, I have not written a paper in so long. Thank God for that! All are on their own path, mostly separate from what the player is doing. So... their stories are mostly different. Their stories are mostly... Think it through, think it through, think it through. I think we'll come back to this paragraph. I think we'll actually come back to this paragraph a little later, because I'm starting to, like... My mind's starting to drift a little bit to the next section. So, let's, start on section 2. Yeah. Section 2. That's not what I wanted to do. Okay, what is section 2? Brief history of quests in games. Okay, without knowing what the end of section 1 is like, the start of section 2 is gonna be kind of strange. From Software has always had a somewhat antiquated approach to game design. Dark Souls and Demons both released around a time of... Oh, that's my favorite part. Both released around a time of... That sounds like the metal pipe effect now that I'm hearing it. Why does every breakcore song use that damn bonk sound? And it's in every fucking breakcore song. I don't know why. Why do they all sound like that? That's why I respect Izar, because they actually tend to do different things in comparison to most breakcore people. Dark Souls and Demon Souls both released around a time of... This is Born to Be a Star Again by Izar. What the fuck? It's a good song, but why do you like it so much? I like it too, don't get me wrong. Ah, whatever. From Software has always had a somewhat antiquated approach to game design. Dark Souls and Demon Souls both released around a time of... I don't want to say dumbing down of games. Because... I mean, it kind of was, but it kind of wasn't. Time of hand-holding in games. Ah, hello, Ray Kaido. It's good to see you. Welcome in, welcome in. This isn't our usual. This isn't our usual kind of stream. But it's good to see you. It's good to see you. Thank you so much for joining. How's your day been? Dark Souls and Demon Souls both released around a time of... Let's put hand-holding in quotes, because I don't really know how to put it. Many games did not afford the player much... What would the term be? Self-direction? Did not afford the player much... I don't know... Trust? Afford the player much trust in... I arrived an hour late? Ah. Just in time, I say. Just in time, I say. Many games do not afford the player much trust in... say... beating the game on their own. Beating it, by themselves. What are you doing? I am writing a video essay about Elden Ring. I've noticed so the idea is basically, most people sort of dislike, yes. It's specifically about the, quest designs in Elden Ring. I quite like, so the NPC quest designs, some people are like, I have no idea where they're going. What the hell? This is insane. And I'm like, well, you know, I kind of like that. Affords of agency. That's a general idea. I can go over... This is mostly the outline I've got, so it's like... You know, From Software is always trying to make the player not the protagonist, just the guy who finishes the job. Section 2 of a brief overview of how, like, games have quests in the past, because it's kind of similar, but it was way worse back then, trust me on this. I will then go over some problems with their design, with their approach to NPCs, mostly from a gameplay perspective. Because in terms of gameplay, there are problems, and I think I should acknowledge at least in the essay. And then, yeah. And then lastly, I will say it gives agency to the characters that most games don't give their NPCs, which is something I really appreciate from Software. Because most people, they just have NPCs stick around for like, I don't know, years waiting for you to do shit. But not so in From Software. They live their own lives, for the most part. Of course, you're important because you're the one playing, and that's how games work, but that's the general idea. I'm trying to iron it out right now. This is just section 1, which is somewhat unfinished. And now we're on to section 2, and there will be 4 sections.
That the universe is kind.
And the song is Born to be a Star by Izar. Very good song, very good song.
But there are times it is sad.
From Software has always had a somewhat antiquated approach to game design. Dark Souls and Demon Souls both were released around a time of quote-unquote hand-holding in video games. Many games do not afford the player much trust in beating the game on their own, or understanding the story on their own, or really giving the player any chance to,
Sometimes when they are deep in dreams, I want to tell them.
or really giving the player any chance to figure
It's in reality.
things out on their own.
I want to tell
I feel like I should have an example of this. Let me look up a list of games that were released in like 2010.
made a true
List of games released in 2010. Miyazaki, NPCs are disposable? You're not wrong, you're not wrong. Alright. So, 2010 video games. Let's sort by the score, so... Super Mario Galaxy 2. Okay, so problem is, I didn't really play many of these games. If anyone knows about, say, I don't know, Mass Effect... Was Mass Effect kind of hand-holding in how they did things? This song is A Party to My Death by Izar. Why are there 2 Red Dead Redemption releases? That's just cheating. StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty, that's an interesting one. Let's see. There was definitely a trend of stories being very different. Well, not giving them age. So 2011, that's when Dark Souls 1 released, I believe. Skyrim, that could be an example. The lore, it tends to leave up and let you figure that shit out. The story is... Why is Portal 2 on here 3 times? You shouldn't be allowed to do that. Miyazaki, NPCs are transient, poison swamp. Yes, the poison swamps! You get it, Reikato, you understand me. Okay, why the fuck is Mass Effect 2 also on this list? That's not how this works. ...2007 video games. TF2 released 2007. Ah, interesting. COD 4, I mean, that's kind of on rails. Oh, it's not literally on rails, it's on rails shooter, but you know what I mean, Mass Effect, Crisis, Bioshock, I mean... Uncharted, that's one that... Well, that's the whole, oh yeah, ludonarrative dissonance. The fuck is The Darkness? Wait a minute, this is the first game that Yahtzee reviewed, or not, I nearly said at the end. That Yahtzee reviewed, right? I followed that guy for years, it's probably like 2012. That man has strongly influenced the way I see the world. For better and worse. Or how I analyze media. But you know. Many games do not afford the player much trust to be the game of their own, understanding the story on their own, or really giving the player any chance to figure things out on their own. This trend also still goes on today, but some games are beginning to this trend also goes on today, but some games are beginning to... How do I put it? They're beginning to are beginning to trust a player to find things out on their own. So, Ricardo, what have you been up to? You been good? You been good? I've been quite well. I've just been chilling. AUGUSTATHON is still going strong. I have like 4 collabs coming up. I'm so excited for all that. I'm gonna go nuts planning them all, and I am happy for it. I love planning things. Alright. Nice. Yeah. I mean, one example that games don't really trust a player nowadays is the fucking... I've heard in God of War Ragnarok, if you don't immediately get the puzzle, the fucking guy would just be like, yeah, just... Sasha, no, please, I'm sorry, not today. Please, I'll do anything. I'll do anything, please, no. Oh God, no. Oh! Hello, Sasha. Hello, Sasha. How's it going, boss? How's it going, boss? I'm fine. It's been a good week. Good to hear. Good to hear. Numbers from the Waddles. Please have mercy. I am but a mere man. Well, not mere, but I'm much. It's good to hear that you've been good, Ricardo. It's good. It's a good week. What is that? Sasha Muscadet is a stream friend. Stream acquaintance. Ah. There's someone I've talked to a little bit. They're pretty cool. They're pretty cool. I believe that's Sashiv's play or character. What you been up to, Sasha? What's you been up to? It's good to see you. It's good to see you. This trend also still goes on today, but some games are beginning to trust the player to find things out on their own. Just got back from the beach? Hell yeah, hell yeah. Would you be interested in joining the collab? The TTRPG collab? I probably shouldn't talk about that on stream, but you know. While I have your attention. I'll DM you about it later. Don't worry about responding right now. Just DM me if you're curious. But how was your vacation? How was your vacation? I'm very curious. This trend also still goes today, but some games are getting trust play to find things out on their own. I've been in an hour, then another collab today, but let me know when it happens. We'll do. Well, we're still trying to figure out the time. But, you know. Yeah. I will. Like I said, we're still trying to figure out the time. I mean, I'm shooting for Friday, because that's some free time I have, and it works for everyone else. But we'll see what happens. This trend also still goes on today, but some games are beginning to trust the player to find things out on their own. Dark Souls initially led the charge for it. And some games have followed suit. From Software has a general trend of designing their games like retro, in a sort of retro style. For example, their harsh difficulty. Wait, they're mixing modern and retro. To mix retro and modern designs. For example, their harsh difficulty is punctuated by its fairness, by the fairness of the difficulty. Many retro games were very difficult, but not particularly fair. For example, look at Ninja Gaiden or Ghouls and Ghosts. Both of these games. This is Stardust Nightcore by Cyrex again. I don't know who the original artist is. I'm so sorry. But, you know, I'm quite a Stardust individual. I like astrophysics. That might be what my big bash is next week. You never know. I'll need to prepare a lot for that one, though. For example, look at Ninja Gaiden or Ghouls and Ghosts. Both of these games are well renowned. Renowned for their incredible difficulty. I'm allowed to say Ghouls and Ghosts is difficult because I actually beat it. I'm a madman. And for the unforgiving nature of them. Both of these games are well renowned for their incredible difficulty and for the unforgiving nature of them. And for and for their unforgiving nature. Many say these games are even bullshit, which they aren't completely wrong about. Their immense difficulty has earned them a reputation that lasts to the modern day. But what else? From Software, on the other hand, no, From Software instead. From Software, while having difficult games, are well known for being fair. For being relatively fair. Yeah, I thought about Malekith in the exact moment I wrote fair. I don't like that boss. It's not a bad boss, it's just not my thing. You know it is. From Software, while having very difficult games, are well known for being relatively fair. In Dark Souls, the player merely needs to learn. For most in Dark Souls, for most bosses, the player merely needs to observe carefully and dodge at the correct moments, or use some unique and interesting build or strategy to succeed. I think we should expand this paragraph a little bit, with enemies popping out of nowhere, and the nature of NES games leading them, forcing players to restart every time they die. I believe Contra would also be an example of bullshit games, although that game's still fun, don't get me wrong. Or use some unique and interesting build or strategy to succeed. This is Please Revere Me, My Purpose Eludes Me by Love Carousa. This is another breakcore song. I don't know why I like that gall darn little thing so much. From Software, while having difficult games, are well known for being relatively fair. In Dark Souls, for most bosses, the player really needs to observe carefully and dodge the correct moment, or use some unique and interesting build or strategy to succeed. These games, many will say after beating them, are entirely beatable and are entirely beatable. Of course, that leads to the get good narrative, which, to be honest, kind of plagued the game, but you know, happens. Okay, wait, this is, I just reread this. Say, after beating them are entirely beatable. That's, I don't know if I should keep that. That sounds really stupid, but also, like, in a funny way. I know, say, after beating them are entirely, yeah, fuck it, we're leaving it like that. That's funny. I didn't even notice that. In Dark Souls, most bosses play very carefully and dodge the correct moments, or use some unique interesting bonus strategies. See, these games do no say after beating them are entirely beatable. The games do not have the same elements as their retro counterparts. The games don't have the same elements as their retro counterparts. They... I think I'll get into the drink in a quick second. I'll be gone for a moment, don't worry. The games do not have the same elements as the retro counterparts. They give the player enough tools to survive and thrive without much of bullshit thrown in. Without much bullshit thrown in. These games, many will say after beating them, are entirely beatable. Alright, what else? These facts extend even to quest design. Older games are well known for having obtuse and very difficult to find. Very difficult to find quests. This is Keep Trying, Please by Isaac. This is like the 5th time it's played this stream. It's a good song, but I know there's some songs on this playlist that just have not been played. Alright, after this song ends, I am going to go get something to drink, but I'll be gone for like 15 seconds, so, you know. These facts extend even to quest design. Older games are well known for having obtuse and very difficult to find quests. My favorite example is in Castlevania 3. I'm just gonna look up Orb Quest Castlevania and y'all know what I mean. Castlevania Red Orb. Red Orb Tornado? Oh no, Red Crystal, my bad. And it's in Castlevania, or wait, is it Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest? Yes. My favorite example is in Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest. Red is really summoned transfer. In order to progress the story, this is not even like a side quest kind of deal. In order to progress the story in Castlevania 2, let me also make the capitals. In order to progress the story in Castlevania 2, one must take the red crystal and crouch in a corner for about 10 seconds. Then a transportation tornado will appear and take the player elsewhere. Take the player where they need to go. If I recall correctly, this is required for the story. You have to do this to beat the game. I think it's actually 5 seconds. That trips. This little I'm not gonna say detour, but this little action is required to beat the game. Crouch in a random corner for 5 seconds. Then transition to appear. It takes where they need to go. This little action was required to beat the game and has nearly no indication in the game how to accomplish this feat, requiring, necessitating a strategy guide. Alright, that was Keep Trying, Please by Izar. I shall be right back.
Find that chaos, Doctor.
Fantastic fucking...
Sir, yes, sir. The dream is only lost if you believe it is so.
I'll be right back while this
First
clip
message of the
plays.
heart. If they make you believe that you can't win, then you have already lost. You can only lose if you believe that you can lose. You must first accept that you can lose, and then accept that you can win. And you must decide to win. Let the possibility of failure always exist in your mind, and make it so that it cannot come to pass. How do you defeat someone without even fighting them? By making them believe they cannot win. If you do not believe you can even win, then you will not try. And if you do not try, you will never succeed. Therefore, your enemies will try and demoralize you at every step. Do not let them. You must never let the world kill you. You gotta keep that separate.
Show off that grabbable waist of yours for me. Thank you.
You will see it very slightly. Alright, there you go. That's all you get. That's all you get, buddy. That's all you get.
Alright, everyone, I'm back.
Jesus Christ. Calm down, guys. Alright, you follow me. Alright.
This is such a good clip, though. I'm gonna let this one play out,
Hey, you know what
and
you
then
should
we're
do?
gonna go back to what we were doing.
Bye.
Alright, that's enough of that. I'm sorry about that. That might have exploded your ears there. Anyway, back to... This is End of My Life by Izar, one of my favorite Izar songs. It's very good. It's very good. Alright, this little action is required to beat the game, and has nearly no indication in the game how to accomplish feat, necessitating a strategy guide. From software... Instead, From Software takes more after retro games in this respect than most modern games. Their quest lines are frequently obtuse and are very unclear. Example, for example, in Dark Souls 3, to achieve the Age of Man. Was it Age of Man? Oh, I don't remember. I think it was Age of Man, Dark Souls 3. Age of Hollows, I think it was. Endings in Dark Souls 3. What are the endings in Dark Souls 3? Usurpation of Fire? To achieve the usurpation of fire ending, the player must follow a very long and strict sequence of events, or have to start over in another save or in G+. Some quest lines are a lot simpler. Some quest lines are a lot simpler, however. Sigurd of Katarina tends to... Oh, no, that's a bad example, because you have to go out of your way to meet, unfortunately. Siegmeyer, on the other hand. Siegmeyer of Katarina, on the other hand, tends to follow the player's progression along with them. So, this is My Idea of Fun by Patrick Schneeweiss. Well, My Idea of Fun by Winged Dishwashers Union, but it's really only Patrick Schneeweiss in this song, playing the guitar and doing music. I love this song. Maybe it's not particularly good for as stream music, but you know what? Whatever. Okay, some quest lines are a lot simpler, however. Sigmar of Katarina, on the other hand, tends to follow players' progression along with them. Many quest lines follow a simpler progression, merely mostly requiring the player to find where the NPC went next, and perhaps killing an enemy. So, Pat, could you please chill out, my friend? Alright, mostly requiring the player to find where the NPCs has gone next, and perhaps killing an enemy. This design is generally what Elden Ring uses. Go to where they are, and kill something! Go to where the NPC has gone, and kill something. It's just that simple. Alright. This design is far less obtuse than most retro games, but does not completely exclude. This design is far less obtuse than most retro games, but is also not very clear, but is also rather opaque in comparison to most modern games. Famously, From Software does not have quest markers, so finding where to go next can be quite difficult. If one desires to finish a quest line. If If one desires, not desire. If one desire? The singular doesn't make any sense there. Huh. Silly hustle. Tricks are for kids. And I'm not much of a trickster. Well, depends on the day, really. This design is generally what Elden Ring uses. Take a look at he's gone and kill something. This design is far less obtuse than most retro games, but it's also rather opaque in comparison to most modern games. Famously, From Software does not have quest markers. To find where we go next, you quite difficult one desires to reach a quest. So... No. That's terrible way to start a sentence. Never start a sentence in an essay with so? I mean, that's just kind of poncy, for one. This design is far less obtuse, but also rather opaque in comparison to most modern games. Alright, how do we continue this? Because, what's the idea I want to go for? The idea I want to go for here is... What is it? Most characters tend to show up in seemingly random locations. This is actually a pretty decent way of going to section 3. Because section 3 is talking about the downsides of how From Software does it. I'm saying the upsides are good for it, and I actually think it's overall positive. But, you know, you do need to go over the downsides of something if you want to, like, truly proclaim that something is darn tootin' darn good, you know? Most characters tend to show up in seemingly random locations. While not. This design is far less obtuse than most retro games, also is rather opaque in comparison to most other games. Famously, From Software does not have quest markers. The final go next and quite difficult one desires to finish quest line. Most characters tend to show up in frequently random locations. Making a blind playthrough of a quest line difficult. So, we're not gonna do the little fucking video essayist classic of, actually this bad thing is a good thing. No. Not being able to find out where the quest is next isn't really inherently a good thing. I think there's an aspect to it that some people are missing. But my thesis isn't actually it's good that you can't find them. My thesis is that it's good that the game affords them more agency than most do, which is separate. Alright, so let's go to section 3. The downsides. Alright, what song is up next? I'm very curious. Levon Polka Nightcore VSNS Remix by Cyrex. Thank you so much, Cyrex. This is a fucking banger. There's obvious problems with this approach. There's obvious problems with this approach to quest design. If you want to... If there's an NPC who you are invested in, you'd be confused on how to continue their quest line. For example, if you're invested in, let's clarify this. If there's an NPC who you're invested in, either with currency or emotionally, either economically or emotionally, you'd be confused how to continue the quest line. For example, Corin. Oh! Sorry, I got a random pain in my side. Alright, we're good. Corin from Elden. Is that how you spell it? I don't know how to spell Corin. Corin. Yes, that's a. Brother Corin from Elden Ring. Alrighty, sounds good to me. Oh balls. Sorry, hold on. My phone's acting up. For example, Corin from Elden Ring goes from within the... Was it the round table? Round table. And reappears in a random section of Altus Plateau in search of a gold mask. Is that what it's called? The round table? Round table Elden Ring. Round table hold, that's what it's called. That's what it's called. Goes from within the round table hold and reappears in a random section of Altus Plateau in search of a gold mask. Without outside help, the player may never find Corin again. And may potentially lose out on skill books they've given him. Spell books, not skill books. Elden Ring, not an MMO. That was Levon Polka Nightcore by Cyrex, remix of VSNS. This is Senbong Zekura Claws remix Nightcore by Cyrex. Without outside help, the player may never find Corin again, and potentially lose on spellbooks they've given him. Even worse, if the player cares about Corin. If the player has developed an attachment to Corin. I'm not really sure why you... No offense, I don't really find him as interesting as a character, but you know, I don't judge. Without outside help, the player may never find Corin again. Eventually lose on spell. Looks like good. Even worse, players develop an attachment to Corin. Other games tend to... I wanted to say something like there's clear downsides to this approach, but they were going to say at the end. The downsides of this approach to quest design. The immersive player has development capture. Other games tend to supplement a seemingly random. Maybe we should bring up Skyrim. In a quest design, or brief history of quests. Because that would be a very... I mean, Bethesda, I don't know if they necessarily pioneered quest markers, but they most certainly popularized stuff with Fallout and Oblivion. I think Fallout 3? I haven't actually played Fallout 3. I mean, I'm playing New Vegas, but I'm sure y'all knew that. Other games tend to supplement a seemingly random reappearance of NPCs by reappearance, not just regular reappearance of NPCs by placing a quest marker on top of them. As previously mentioned, and I hope we actually did. As previously mentioned, From Software shirks this approach and refuses to hold the player's hand. This would sound kind of condescending. Let's not go for that. As previously mentioned, From Software shirks this approach and refuses to, how shall I say, oh, it's so fucking hot in here, I'm sweating. I'm sweating by sitting down, guys. That's how humid and hot it is in here. Help! I'm melting! As previously mentioned, From Software shirks this approach and refuses to... Je ne sais quoi... and refuses to give the player this information. Let's change this later. Other games tend to supplement the seemingly random reappearance of NPCs by placing a quest mark on top of them. As previously mentioned, From Software shirks this approach and refuses to give the player this information. This is Credit Song for My Death, But I'm the Final Boss by Astron. Very good song, very good song. I quite enjoy it, I quite enjoy it. Alright, what do we do? As previously mentioned, the From Software approach refuses to play this information. Instead, letting the player find out on their own, or simply looking up the answer. I don't think it's particularly wrong for people to look up the answer. That's frankly expected in this modern day and age. Back then, you had to go to old Jimmy on the playground and be like, "Hey, did you know if you go to the little corner and you hold the little red crystal in Castlevania 2, a tornado comes out and it takes you to a castle?" And you'd be like, "That's bullshit. That doesn't make any fucking sense." And little Jimmy would be like, No, dude, you gotta trust me, you gotta trust me." And he'd be right. And then next day, you'd hear a guy say like, and then the next day you hear little Timmy say, "Oh my god, guys, if you touch the truck, Mew comes out. You can catch Mew, guys." And you'd be like, "Well, you know, little Jimmy was correct, so little Timmy's probably correct too." And then you touch the truck over and over, and it turns out little Timmy was a low-lying motherfucker. I hate you, Timmy. It was the Wild West back in the day. It's great. As previously mentioned, From Software shirks approach and refuses to give the player this information, saying the player find their own, or simply pick up the answer. So this is sort of the thesis of this section, like... While that doesn't really... no. This paragraph is... no. Yeah, that's good enough for a paragraph, that's fine. No, not to what the fuck am I doing? Okay. Other games tend to supplement a seemingly random reappearance of NPCs by placing a quest mark on top of them. As previously mentioned, From Software shirks this approach and refuses to give the player this information. Instead, letting the player find on their own, or simply look up the answer. How do we continue this? So okay, let's go back to the outline. Problems episode perspective. When a we'll change that. When a player wants to continue a quest line from software, simply shrugs their shoulders. Terrible sentence. I hate it, but we got to continue on somehow. The player wants to continue across backwards, so shrug their soldiers. Shoulders? They shrug their shoulders, alright. The soldiers? Soldiers are gone. Thank God. From software simply shrugs their I can't say shoulders. Hey, what the hell? Alright. We shouldn't blame other games for making this. That's a bad way to think about it. While other games tend to hand out the answer to the player, From Software instead gives them nothing and expects them to figure it out on their own. I'd claim this is okay. This is Bonjour Madame Nightcore, Claws Remix by Cyrex. While other games tend to hand out the answer to the player, From Software instead gives them nothing and expects them to figure it out on their own. I think I'm losing it. I think I'm losing the writing ability. Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible, everyone. Bonjour Madame. And I'm going crazy. Buddy, I'm always going crazy. When a player wants to continue a questline, From Software simply shrugs their shoulders. Other games tend to hand it the answer to the player. From Software instead gives them nothing and expects them to figure it on their own. That's not necessary. This approach will work for some, and for others, not so much. This entire paragraph may just need to be rewritten. It's not hot. It ain't the hot new thing. You know who's the hot new thing? Me. I am baking. I am boiling. Help me. I'm gonna turn on the turbo mode in my little fan shitlet. Hope you guys can't hear it. Because to me, it's very loud. Let me raise the mic a little bit so that you can't hear it. Alright. You may hear a little bit extra pop from the filter not being in the correct place. Hey, hello. That sound good? There may be a very slight breeze on the microphone. Let me raise it up a little higher. Alright, alright. Now it's right up to my face. Right where it needs to be. This approach will work for some, and for others not so much. If we... No. Okay. How do we approach this, guys? How do we approach this? I need answers. 500 different men, all gathered in front of me, showing me the true vainglory. No. Simply not true. It can't be. Most will, as previously stated, look up the answer. Those people can't be blamed. as this approach requires a very different mindset than what. Okay, I'm genuinely intending this section to be like, okay, this is why it's bad, but I keep accidentally coming with answers like that like almost subtly blame people who aren't okay with it, which I don't want to do. I genuinely want to like talk about the downsides of like this quest design, but there's only good parts to it. Anyway, this is This is Rise from League of Legends. Nightcore remixed by Cyrex. These people can't be blamed, as this approach requires a very different mindset than what most. I think we might just want to go into section 4 and do section 3 later, let the ideas flow. As for the unless someone has some ideas for section 3, which, you know, works for me. Those people can't be blamed. This approach requires a very different mindset than what most are used to in modern games. I know I'm saying I can't be, but that genuinely sounds like we're blaming the like players for not liking it. Section 4. NPC agency. Again, it's gonna be difficult trying to link section 3 to section 4 if we don't know the ending of section 3. We'll figure some out. We're professionals, right guys? Right guys? Please, I'm professional. I would never do things incorrectly. All right, NPC agency. In one way, most games do not give their NPCs any self-direction. These characters do not decide for themselves to act. Obviously, they aren't really people, but agency in terms of story writing is about, like, do they seem like they're acting of their own volition? That's the importance of agency. And something that I genuinely believe, most games refuse to give agency to their NPCs, to like their side characters, which is a problem to me. All right, just as a real quick, I'm gonna take a quick listen to my own microphone, just to make sure I can't actually hear the god dang. Hello? Hello? Okay, I don't think you guys can hear my fan, which is good, All right, what's up next? Let me hear it. Lay it on me. No, that's copyrighted. We can't play that, buddy. Roaming through the we have not played this song yet. This is Roaming Through the Gates of Hell by Mischief Brew. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. Legendary song. I love this song so goddamn much. These characters do not decide for themselves to act. Instead, waiting on the player to act for them.
Like an angel who'd been dancing with some devils. I'm a bad girl with a hope for better days.
Literary agency.
My laughter is spiced with mischief.
In other words, most games do not afford any agency to their non-player characters. Most games do not give their NPCs any self-direction. These characters do not decide for themselves to act, instead waiting for the player to act for them. In other words, most games do not afford any agency to their non-player characters. So how do we put this? These characters do not decide for themselves to act, instead waiting on the player. For most games, this approach works. They prefer for the protagonist to act. They prefer for the player to act as the protagonist completely and utterly, being the primary character upon which the world turns. In many cases, this works. Very linear games, for example, almost require this approach, as the player only has one path forward. Might want to rewrite that. See you in hell, boys. Hey, wait. No. No more highlighting. For most games, this approach works. They prefer for the player to act as the protagonist, completely and utterly, being the primary character on which the world turns. Some open world games also take this approach to their detriment. Skyrim, for example, has many, or I should say the Elder Scrolls in general. The Elder Scrolls, for example, has many, we should put emphasis on many instances of this. There's many examples. In most cases, NPCs will simply wait around until the player bumbles towards them. Alright, sounds like I'm being very negative, but this is Rise from League of Legends Nightcore by Cyrex. Again! This is the second time. Fuck, I don't want to hear this again. We cannot play that song! Alright, Born of a Star by Izar. That works for me. I quite like this song. Some open world games also take this approach to their detriment. The Elder Scrolls, for example, has many cases. Most cases, NPCs simply wait around until the player bumbles towards them and allows for their story to continue. One egregious example is in Skyrim. During the main quest, the dragons almost always wait for the player to show up. I'm specifically thinking about the time where you're going to, where you see Alduin resurrect. I think it was Merholdamir. There's a dragon site where Alduin resurrects a fucking named dragon. And in that one, it's hilarious because it's supposed to be like, dude, Alduin just showed up. Dude, that's crazy, dude. But it'll happen anytime you show up. You can't be late or early. That's the world revolving around you. That's a problem. Narratively, of course. From a game design perspective, it makes sense. I don't have to like it, though. Shed tears of joy, I've arrived. Hello, Estelle and Chantra. Welcome in, welcome in. This is not going to be a particularly exciting stream, but I hope you shall be entertained in any case. How's it going? How's it going? During the main quest, the dragons almost always wait for the player to show up. In a particularly apparent example. Are you fucking kidding? I live for this shit. Reading with interest. I see. Fair enough. Fair enough. I do appreciate it. I do appreciate it. Thank you for showing up so very kindly. In a particularly apparent example, Alduin will come. One quest has the player showing up to a dragon burial site to stop Alduin from resurrecting them. With Delphine also waiting for the player outside the site. Only. And when the player shows up, and only, put some emphasis there, only when the player shows up does Alduin or Delphine begin acting again. In Skyrim, the world revolves around the player. I'm writing notes for explaining niche fandoms I am in to uninitiated since it seems fun, but like, I don't know a single person that wants to know either. You there when I explained Fate with no notes. Well, it was quite perfect. No notes. Ha ha ha! Ha! Laugh, you bastards. But yes, that was quite the enjoyable night. Although I did not go. Although I was pretending to go into a spiel about something. I don't remember what though. But there's no need to spiel this day. We shall simply enjoy the time. What is this emote? Ah, laugh. Yes, it's quite. I do have my moments, but some days they do escape from me. From Software. This is A Party to My Death by Izar. From Software instead takes nearly the opposite approach. NPCs, while still mostly bound to the player, as this is an interactive medium. As this medium does require the player to exist. I'm at work, so it'll be on and off. No problem, no problem. I'm simply glad you showed up. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. From Software instead takes nearly the opposite approach. NPCs, while still mostly bound to the player, as this medium does require the player to exist, tend to exist in their own story and act on their own accord. I think we're making good progress. We might want to go back to section 3, though. It's a bit of a stub. Section 2 and 1 are doing alright. What's our word count at? Pretty good, pretty good. Let me calculate that real fast. So we should be about 1,800 words in the main, let's say 1,900 words in the main script. 1,900, and it's about 100 words per minute. So if divide by about 100, we'll be getting about 19 minutes so far. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I kind of like that. Personally, I think the longer the better, but a lot of people will click more if it's shorter, so I would try and keep it to like around 25 minutes, but you know, we'll see what happens. Also, it's easier for me to edit the shorter it is. I'm not some kind of nut job who can edit like that long of videos. From Software instead takes nearly the opposite approach. NPCs, while still mostly bound to the player as this medium does require the player to exist, tend to exist in their own story and act on their own accord. In most cases, the player merely shows up and either aids them, or... what would be the other case? What's the other case? Or ends them. Aids them or ends them. Elden Ring takes this to the extreme. Corin, with the previously mentioned Corin, so sorry. The previously mentioned Corin will leave without any indication of where they are heading. In some sense, this course of action is realistic. Oh, so sorry. Streaming for more than 2 hours since it tucker me out a tad, but I'll keep going. I will never leave you alone. We must fight and live, but not die. Death is cringe, as the kids say. The previously mentioned Corin will leave without any indication where they're heading. In some sense, this course of action is realistic. In real life, people will lose touch, especially in a world without any easy mode of communication. I'm gonna be right back again. I'm gonna get something to drink. I'm very thirsty, but I shall be right back, and very soon indeed.
Feel the wrath of Zeus.
Alright, yeah, you follow me. Alright, show him it's good. Hey, you know what you're new to our new friend? Bye.
Loser! You're a loser! Are you feeling sorry for yourself?
Ride that chaos, Doctor. You got this.
Sir, yes, sir. The dream is only lost if you believe it is so. The first death is in the heart. If they make you believe that you can't win, then you have already lost. You can only lose if you believe that you can lose. You must first accept that you can lose, and then accept that you can win.
Alright, I
You must
returned.
decide to win. Let the possibility of failure
Shut the
always
hell
be
up.
defined, and make it so that
That guy's a frickin' liar. Don't listen to him. I wouldn't trust that guy if I were you. He's on some fierce. In real life, people lose touch, especially without any easy mode of communication. for most games, that's not an approach that can work. Any game that tacitly centers the player character will not be congruent with this narrative structure. Sorry, I'm thinking. For most games, that's not an approach that can work. Any game that tacitly center the player character will not be congruent with this narrative structure. From Software, on the other hand, has made immense effort to. Okay, this is starting to feel like the section thesis, which I guess I'm fine with. Oh shit! I need to continue playing the music. This is "Party to My Death" by Izar. Very good song. For most games, it's not an approach that can work. From Software, on the other hand, has made immense effort to. How do I say? If y'all ever see my model freaking out like that, that's me drinking water. I think covering my mouth really messes with VTube Studio's tracking software. Specifically, like, you're probably NVIDIA's tracking software. I mean, yeah, probably NVIDIA. How dare you, NVIDIA? How dare you invent good tracking software? That's relatively congruent with the iPhone tracking, which is top notch. For most games, it's not an approach that can work. I have said that several times. From Software, on the other hand, has made immense effort to displace the player character as the center of the world. Instead, the player is merely an actor, like the rest of the characters, and it just so happens to be a vessel for the player of the game. Alright, I like where this is going. Elden Ring and the world of Elden Ring almost feels as if the world. Let's remove this. It'll make it feel better. Elden Ring almost feels as if the world could move without the player character existing. Every NPC would continue on in their own story. With or without the intervention of the player. This is Old Time Memory by Mischief Brew. I quite like it. It's a very cozy song. It makes me happy. Even if it's that old time. It is a bit of a nostalgic song. Not for me, for the guy who's singing it. The central theme of the song is nostalgia. But I think it's got merit. I like it. Kids today can't hold a spade or rest in peace your weary trades. In this world there is no place, such a pity. Every NPC can tell a story with or without the intervention of the player. Although potentially worse off without their help.
Come sit down, we're lamenting about yesterday's
This approach comes together to give a unique feeling to the non-player characters in comparison to most of the modern games industry. I think we might have to retool some of these paragraphs. This approach comes together to give a unique feeling of the characters in comparison to most modern games industry. Fundamentally, the characters have agency to them. Or at least in comparison. I'm not sure if that's what I want to say. I don't know. Fundamentally, the characters have agency to them. And every... How do I put it? This approach comes together with a unique feeling to the non-player characters in comparison to most of the modern games industry. Fundamentally, the characters have agency to them. In every From Software game, they take this approach, allowing the non-player characters space to breathe, and exist as their own people. There's no going back for me. This antique's rustic eulogy shall be sold as folk artistry. Such a as previously mentioned, that has downsides, of course. That does have downsides. If your goal is a sort of power fantasy where you as a player character are the center of the world, I mean, makes sense as to why you would try to censor the character. That's mostly what Skyrim is. I like the game, don't get me wrong. It's a very good song, or not song. It's a very good game. I have fun with it. But there's problems there. I think many would agree. That there's problems there. Like, I think maybe I should expand it to say, like, Carlia. Like, what I think about specifically is also the, I remember one time, for whatever reason, in the middle of the Themes Guild quest, I just fast traveled away, and then Carlia was just waiting for me outside the dungeon for, like, several weeks for no reason. She had no reason to wait there. But she was scripted to wait for me to, like, show up in that area. And she had no reason to. That is a complete lack of character agency. This is Levon Polka, VSNS Remix, Nightcore by Cyrex. This approach comes together with unique feelings to non-player characters in comparison to most of the modern games industry. Fundamentally, the characters have agency to them. In every From Software game, they take this approach, allowing the non-player characters space to breathe and exist as their own people. I think this is the section thesis, alright. I think I would prefer this section to be longer, because it's like the capstone, so it's an important fucking section. Like, I don't want the fucking history of the games to be, like, fucking longer than the actual most important section. But whatever. Such an approach gives a distinctly From Software feel to their quest lines. Although not quest lines and player characters. Let's have this one be like, many would say this is not good, but I'd say I think the upsides strongly disagree with the downsides, or strongly counteract the downsides. To some, they would prefer the player-centric approach. Obviously, such design is prevalent in the games industry. Some would further player-centric approach. Obviously, such design is prevalent in the games industry. Many would prefer the player-centric approach. Obviously, such design is prevalent in the games industry. This design, however, tends to rob characters in the story of a very important aspect. Without agency, these characters become harder to relate to. Not relate, become harder to connect with, as they feel less like people and more like puppets on a stage. In From Software games, every NPC will continue on in their own story, with or without the intervention of the player. Without agency, these characters tend to become hard to connect with, as they feel less like people, more like puppets on a stage. And From Software games, non-player characters are given more agency than most, or at least as much agency as the world they exist in can give them. This is Born to be a Star by Izar in From Software game. This approach comes together to give unique feelings to non-player characters in comparison to most modern games industry. Fundamentally, the characters have agency to them. And From Software game, they take this approach, allowing the player characters space to breathe and exist as their own people. Such an approach gives a distinctly From Software feel to the quest lines and characters, enhancing the world. Enhancing the world and helping the world come to life. I'm happy with that. I think it should be a little bit longer, but honestly, it's fine enough as is. Hold on. About 600 characters. That's good enough. That's good enough. Alright. Outro. I genuinely forget what the final part of a paper is called. Conclusion! That's what it's called. Conclusion. Balls. No. Get serious. Just call it conclusion. That's good enough for a name. Introduction. Now you'll notice that for the outro and the outline I just put fuck it we ball, but section 3, we want to expand on that. Game design necessitates a focus on the player. Without the player, there is no game. Although some games claim to be a zero-player game, these do not actually exist in reality. Actual zero-player games are known as movies. I'm kind of tempted to say visual novels, but that's a bit mean. Actual zero-player games are known as movies. Game design necessitates focus on the player. Without the player, there is no game. So, obviously, the developers should focus on the player somehow. So obviously, the developers should focus on the player.
That we love it, that the universe is kind. Sometimes, through the noise of its thoughts, it hears the universe.
If the play,
It is sad. In a long train,
this approach also, I keep saying this approach, that's kind of becoming a
and it takes its sad
problematic mantra. It's coming everywhere.
this dream to cure us of sorrow.
So obviously, the developers should focus on the player.
The sorrow is part of its own task. We cannot interfere. Sometimes
The player, there's no game. Although some games claim to be a zero-player game, these don't actually exist in reality. Actual zero-player games in this movie, so obviously, the developers should focus on the player.
I want to tell them of their importance to the universe.
This approach also brings a power fantasy
A true connection in a while. I want to
of being an important person in the world. Spaces should exist for these aspects in the games industry. We need another paragraph. I know there should be one more I can feel another paragraph in me, but I don't know if I can really get it. I want to skip this one. This is Please Revere Me, My Purpose Eludes Me by Love Carosa. Game design necessitates focus on the player. Without the player, there's no game. This design isn't obtuse inherently, but does have je ne sais quoi. The design isn't obtuse inherently, but does leave the player with more confusion than can be intended. Millicent's questline, for example, has left many players very confused as she goes from the very top, or from the very bottom of the map in Caelid to the very top of the map in the Halig tree. I'm gonna quickly look up her questline just to make sure I'm not bullshitting. Millicent questline. Elden Ring. Alright, Gory Shack. Oh, she goes to Altus Plateau. To near the top of the map in Altus Plateau. And lastly, end of her quest line in the Hallig Tree. Many have criticized this quest line for its opaque nature. And I feel I have to agree. There's no logical indication of where the player should head if they want to continue this quest, continue this story. In many cases, let's say many cases. Many is a very wobbly word. Wobbly? That's not a word. Wobbly is not a word. It's kind of not unclear. Let's say it's very... It can infer a lot. It can either mean like a decent amount or most amount, or... I'm not really trying to make a specific count here. In many cases, these leave the player without any possible direction, without any possible indication how they should proceed. And then maybe we should rework this one. However, in a living, breathing world, characters do not revolve around one person. But most games do not give their NPCs any self-direction. These characters do not decide for themselves how to act, instead of letting a player to act for them. In other words, most games don't afford any agency to non-player characters. Alright, I think this is a decent bridge between the two. Alright. Section 3 is shorter than I'd like. How many words? 400 words. Yeah. Because I want to say, like, yeah, you guys are right. It is kind of messed up that you can't really tell where to go next for your quests. But if they didn't do that, I think the game would lose something. That's my entire thesis. Alright, we gotta do the stupid ass 3 act. Blah 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 blah. Without this distinct approach, From Software would lose something from their narrative and from their... would lose something from their narrative and characters. Their games are marked with a... Their games are marked with a focus away from the player in comparison to most other game in comparison to most other modern games. That's the thesis of section 2. Older games also took a somewhat... I think we should expand the conclusion a bit more than just being like the fucking generic ass sentence 1, section 1, section 2, sentence 2, etc. But I don't know, I think it's kind of working here. Older games also took a somewhat opaque approach to their... This is Rise from League of Legends, Nightcore, remixed by Cyrex. Lovely. Older games also took a somewhat opaque approach to their design. Also took an opaque, not somewhat, very opaque to their design. But From Software has done their best to help the player through this. But From Software has done their best to help the player find has fused this design with a modern approach, leading to a unique mixture of old and new in their games overall. A multitude of problems exist as a downstream result. A multitude of problems exist as a downstream result of this approach. But also gives I don't want to keep using unique. What's another word for unique? I need a unique synonym. Also gives an incredibly distinctive A multitude of problems exist as downstream results of this approach, but also gives an incredibly distinctive identity to not only their games, but not only their gameplay. No. I can't trust that, man. Let's go Senbon Zekura. This is Senbon Zekura Claws Remix, Nightcore version by Cyrex. It also gives an incredibly distinctive identity, not only their gameplay, but also their characters and story. Which I think makes up strongly for the downsides. That distinct identity more than makes up for the issues create. That distinctive identity in my opinion, it very much counterbalances it. That distinct identity counterbalances the... I'm out of water. There was but a drop. That distinct identity counterbalances the problems present, giving every character agency, and we can just copy from the giving every character agency, giving more characters agency, and while seeming antiquated, is uniquely a From Software uniquely and characteristically From Software. Alright, I can't really think of ways to expand this conclusion paragraph. You know, have a little bit before it. I'm happy with this. Alright, how many words do we have? Count. That's about how long I want my video to be. 26 minutes-ish. So if it's like 150, if you want like 20 minutes. That's a good length. That's actually a good length, I'd say. I'm happy with that. Today was a good day. Today was a very good day. A multitude of problems exist as a downstream result of this approach, but also gives an incredibly single identity of the gameplay with a story. That single identity counterbalances problems present, giving more characters agency. And while seemingly antiquated, is uniquely and characteristically From Software. I think we almost seem like we're rushing into the conclusion, because it's sort of a slow build-up for the most part, and then we suddenly rush into the conclusion after this bit. Actually, no, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. We've got plenty of examples. All right, let's try reworking some of these sentences, because some of these are kind of meh, yeah, as I like to put it. And we have to even Dark Souls. From so far, always try to make the players try to lessen the importance of the player. This is Levon Polko vs NS Remix by Cyrex. Alright, that's a better way of putting it, I'd say. We never ended section 1. Shit. The lack of focus on the player as protagonist makes sense of the current story. Each NPC has their own lives to live. They cross paths with the player character, but not always. That's terrible. They may cross paths with the player character, but aren't beholden to them. All they're on their own path, mostly separate from what the player is doing. This aspect reinforces From Software's theme of the protagonist, theme of the player character. This aspect reinforces From Software's theme of the player character not being the protagonist. protagonist not being the player character. I'm still really happy with that though. Let's highlight this again. But this is fine as a section conclusion, I'd say. Just has to reword some of that. Other games have developed a seemingly random reappearance of NPCs or place a quest mark on them. From software restricts approach and refuses to direct the player. Refuses to direct the player. From Software refuses to give this information easily or simply. While other games tend to hand out the answer to the player, From Software instead gives them nothing and expects them to figure it out on their own. But no Google. It's supposed to be like that. Trust me. Can I add this dictionary? Can I shake off? It's a proper noun, buddy. From Software refuses to give this information easily or simply. While other games tend to hand out the answer to the player, From Software instead gives them nothing, expects them to figure it out on their own. This approach worked for some, for others not so much. Most will, as previously stated, didn't look at the answer. Those people can't be blamed, as this approach works very different mindset than what most are used to in modern games. Game design necessitates focus on the player. Without the player, there is no game. I think Section 3 is fine. Okay, very linear games, for example, almost require this approach, as the player only has one path forward. In many cases, this works. Very linear games, for example, also require this one. The player's only one path forward. Their linearity requiring. This is Bonjour Madame by the Claws remix, Nightcore remix by Cyrex. Their linearity requiring a focus on the player. I don't know, this feels too much like a tautology. I don't really like it. Very linear games always require this approach. Very linear games, for example, always require this approach. As they would lack typically would lack another point of view without using the player. I still don't like that, but honestly, we're doing fine. All right, what's our new word count? All right, it's about the same length. All right. You know what? I'm happy. I'm happy with that. I am actually very happy with that. I think it's time we ended stream. It was a good one. It was a very good one. Let's find somebody to raid. Let's see who's up. Who do we got? Who do we got? Oh. Anyone got any raid targets for me? I don't know. I've never raided Ginny Mercurialis, so why not? Let's go say hi to Ginny. I think she's doing. Interested to see what she's up to. Let's start. Alright, yeah. Alright, well, it's the perfect song because bonjour, madame. And I am going crazy. Bonjour, my friends. Bonjour. I hope you have a fantastic night and give them the best. And for those on the YouTube
I don't
side,
trust people. Especially now we're a fucking online order.
Hello, Raiders. My name is Rose.
Dr. Hassel, thanks for the raid. Welcome in.
Devil. Totally not a fucking
good night on YouTube
demon
side. Have a
vampire.
fantastic time.
Destiny